All right, so if you had to associate one word, and one word only, with an NFL offseason, might that word be change? Would that be an apt word? Not to put you on the spot or anything, right off the top here at Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation. Darren Urban, Dani Sureck, the self-proclaimed CPO over here, Chief Podcast Officer, Paul Calvisi. Can I give myself that title in the offseason?
Quite the promotion. You want to talk about change. Right. That is the promotion of all promotions. C-suite level, Paul Calvisi.
That's right.
Wouldn't vacation be the first thing that popped to your head?
Oh,
no days
my
off.
head or your head? I'm a grinder, so don't even associate vacation with yours truly.
I'm going to take vacation.
Because
change is probably good. That's a proper way to put it. Yeah.
Could I also say that there's so much change this offseason that even change is changing? Or maybe the better way to put it, how we make change looks to be changing when the
$4 quarters and a dollar, Paul.
The Treasury Department has been instructed to stop minting new pennies. So
that's probably
that was years ago.
I think that was a long time coming, right?
Well, I mean, it's been discussed for a long time.
I think it's safe to say, and I don't really feel like I'm going out on a limb by saying I'm not a big fan of a lot of things that are going on right now, but that I can deliver that one.
Apparently, the U.S. Mint reported losing $85 million plus in 2024, the fiscal year, on the nearly 3.2 billion pennies that were produced. So other countries have gotten rid of the penny, by the way. Canada. This is a lot of fun factoids when it comes to pennies.
Are pennies like the new Beanie Babies where you should save them because they're going to be worth something someday?
The penny is actually a zinc coin with copper plating, in case you were wondering.
Hey, copper, isn't that one of the 5 C's of Arizona?
I believe so, Dani. Thanks for bringing that up.
How about that?
And for all of you who might be longing for, the forlorn penny real soon, the USA stopped minting the half-cent coin in 1857. So there is precedent for change when it comes to change.
Hey,
inflation
that's a pun.
happens.
Some change.
I feel like Paul put a lot of effort into this intro. This is impressive.
I saw that earlier, and I was just intrigued by everything that's behind the penny. I didn't quite realize all of that.
What in real terms, when was the last time you used a penny?
That's a great question.
When I needed change to park on the street, even though it's like
you
a
used
minute.
penny?
I think if I've been low on change, I'll put anything that I have.
I'll be honest,
that's a great question.
I'm sure the pandemic pushed me in this regard, but I'm having a hard time. I barely use cash anymore.
Same.
I mean, unless you're leaving a tip somewhere. I mean, that honestly, that's where cash comes in, right? You're leaving a tip.
Wait, you're going to these
somewhere.
places that don't just have that little iPad thing that's here's the bill, and then it's just a fast food place, and they're like, hey, do you want to leave a tip? And you're thinking, no, I don't want to leave a tip.
Okay. This is really getting off track fast. I'm not a fan of those. I'm not a fan of when they just, the server stands right there and you have to sign and do the tip and everything right in front of them, especially because a lot of the places, sometimes it's not.
They're not doing anything.
Or it's a lot to tip for something where, again, you're not really doing much. I say that as a former server. I don't know. I feel uncomfortable when I'm paying and they're just standing over me and I'm touching the screen.
But again, it's one thing if you're serving. If I'm walking up to a counter and ordering food and they're just putting it into a cash register for in 2 seconds and then I get my food and that's supposed to get a tip, I don't get that.
I'll agree with that.
All right. Sorry about that.
That isn't even how I feel type of way.
Okay. Well, we might as well get the money component out of this Super Bowl right here, this angle. As BetMGM Sportsbook reported, Super Bowl 59 was the most single bet sporting event in the history of BetMGM Sportsbook. And a lot of bettors cashed in on the Philly money line, the over, Hurts as your Super Bowl MVP, but a lot of bettors took a bath because in-game, remember, you can bet in real time. A lot of people bet at halftime on Patrick Mahomes forging a comeback, which never happened, akin to Super Bowl 57 at State Farm Stadium when there was a comeback. So for all those bettors,
I'd love to know when that bet was made, though.
It can
when
always
I hear that
get
though
worse.
of the most bets, I mean that's just going to happen over time as it becomes more legal in different states and everybody has more access to it. I did think of you with the Gatorade bath because last week, Paul, you said if you were betting you were going to go orange. It was yellow.
Well, we're going to argue this. My wife and I argue
lemon
this.
lime?
Like a lemon lime?
I think it's green. She says it's yellow, but yes, it's whatever the hell that flavor is.
How can there be controversy over these things? Sort of like the national anthem. How many times did John Batiste repeat the phrase, land of the free, 3 or 4 times, and then he held out that one note for 8 seconds at the very end, and all of a sudden it ended up right there at the over-under line of demarcation, 2 minutes and a half second, and all of a sudden there's controversy. Because was it over? Was it under? Some sports books paid the over, some paid the under. But the fact that he repeated one line 3 times and held out another note 8 seconds at the very end, hashtag fishy fishy.
Hey, you know how you fix that? Don't wager.
Yeah, look, I think it's all fun and games, but at some point, if you're putting down serious money for something like that, you might want to call the hotline.
The other thing that seems to be growing are the Super Bowl TV ratings. So second straight year, they set a new record, average audience of 126 million U.S. viewers. That's across TV and streaming platforms. Streaming set another record, but then also Nielsen is doing a different way of tracking, like all viewers, like those who are out of the home as well. So that tends to skew and amp up the numbers. So, which is interesting, though, because the first 3 weekends of the playoffs, NFL TV ratings were down 9%. Largely attributed to so many blowouts in the playoff games leading up to the Super Bowl. And then what happened in the Super Bowl? Another blowout.
Right, but with the Super Bowl, you can get a bunch of viewers early on and in the pregame that you wouldn't necessarily get on other games. So at least you get a handful of viewers. I'm guessing you were not getting 127 million people watching in the third quarter.
Well, to your point, Darren, the halftime was just released. 133.5 million viewers for halftime. Exceeded the average for the game. In fact,
That's foreshadowing, Dani.
Yes, we're going to cover this. Do you have this, Dani? I don't want to step with some of your info.
No, you can list the stats.
It was a record-setting halftime. Michael Jackson's longtime record as the most watch ever just got toppled by Kendrick Lamar. So that took some doing.
You want to know a fun fact about Michael Jackson? That was in Santa Clara, right? That Super Bowl where he performed?
I should know that, and I don't.
I definitely don't know that.
So my mom has her very first professional football game ever. My dad took her to the Super Bowl. He won tickets, took her to the Super Bowl. And so Michael Jackson, that was her first, like the halftime, that was her first experience of a professional football game. And it truly does not get much better than that.
Although I do have beef with the Super Bowl committee out of the Bay Area.
Of course you do. Why?
They just released a video, for Super Bowl 60. They handed off the football from New Orleans to San Francisco. And the official video, 2-minute video.
You're not in it?
It has a video clip of Stanford and none of Cal. So, I mean, that's edit. We gotta make an edit.
Well, you actually have to pass Palo Alto to get to Santa Clara from San Francisco. Right. Cal's over there on the other side of the water.
I am correct, by the way. That was in 1993, Santa Clara.
Otherwise known as the East Bay, Darren. 1993, okay?
Yes. But San Francisco, they're getting the next Super Bowl.
Right.
And then it goes to L.A., which is so interesting to me for back-to-back years.
So we'll get into, by the way, I have some other, well, you know what? Before we get into the game itself, how about a rousing rendition of Read and React? Okay, a little bit later, getting culture with Dani. A little bit later, winning behavior. Right now, let me take you through a couple of snippets from the Super Bowl, and then you guys, some are facts, some are opinion, and reactions, and then you guys can go ahead and respond accordingly. Ready for this?
I'm ready, Paul.
All right, no particular order. Number one, when did Tom Cruise become the world's big game ambassador? The last time we had a global sporting event was the Olympics, and it was Tom Cruise taking it out from Paris to L.A., and then we start up with the next global sporting event, and who is it? It's Tom Cruise.
But you know why?
No, I don't.
They're connected. When he did it for the Olympics, he was doing the whole stunt thing because they were filming the new Mission Impossible. Now, the new Mission Impossible is actually about to come out, so he had to jump back in there.
This is like Fast and Furious all over again.
So Mission Impossible is embedding it into the global sporting DNA. Okay, all right. Reaction number two I had, it's nice to watch football that didn't involve a game of Survivor, right? That, it wasn't, Weather Channel coverage mixed in with some football playoff action. So that was good,
Although there were some complaints that it was such a gorgeous day in New Orleans and they were playing in a dome.
You can never win.
Everybody's got to complain about something, right?
We can work on it. I got some.
Okay.
I got a lot of problems with you people.
Tom Brady, did anyone catch his watch, the timepiece on his wrist?
That was a nice watch. Whoa.
Did you see what that watch retails for?
I think I did see something along
My
those
guess
lines.
is anywhere from like $600,000 to $800,000.
Wow, Dani knows her timepieces. $740,000.
It's her being cultured, which we are not.
Okay, speaking of Tom Brady,
Okay.
Oh, boy.
did you guys take a good look at his face? Because it looked like he's had some work done.
No, and more no. Come on. He just drinks a lot of water.
Unless
eats
whoever
a lot
was
of
doing
avocado ice
whoever was doing his TV makeup, it was a little too much contour is what it looked like for me. The cheekbones.
I'm with you. I know what you're talking about, and I would agree with that.
You weren't saying like Botox. You weren't
Oh,
actually
probably.
saying. Oh, okay.
No judgment. I just
Yeah. I already mentioned the national anthem. We'll get past that. Once again, no necessary order. D-Hop tripping over his own feet in space.
Mr. Always Open.
Not good.
That's when you really got the sense that KC was going to get KO'd, right?
I actually had a bigger problem with D-Hop after the game, basically blaming the refs. Come on, man.
I mean, the Chiefs didn't even cross midfield until third quarter, so I didn't
Not a
appreciate
good
that either.
On the flip
he made a comment about, oh, you guys were talking about the refs before a game, and now you don't want to say anything about them.
Yeah. On the flip side, I thought Patrick Mahomes was unbelievable post-game, considering he just lost his Super Bowl. Now, I think there's a lot that goes into it. He's already won some Super Bowls, so it's not probably quite as heartbreaking. But I just really appreciated how he handled all that.
Do we think it was heartbreaking for Jason Kelce, who just retired, to watch?
He basically... Oh, did you not see his tweet today?
I did not see his tweet.
So, speaking of things to read and react to, so I'll try and keep this short. Jason Kelce, obviously they have the New Heights podcast, the Kelce brothers. The New Heights Twitter account put out a tweet congratulating the Eagles and then deleted it quickly after. And there were a lot of Eagles fans who were very upset that they deleted the tweet. And why isn't Jason Kelce, congratulating the Eagles? This is terrible. And how dare you? And blah, 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 blah. Jason Kelce finally came out with a tweet today, and he admitted it was like super long. I mean, the tweet was, he has the thing where he can write as long as he wants, and it must have been, 300 words. But basically, in a nutshell, he was saying he needed some time to get his thoughts together. He's very close with his brother. It hurt him to see, he wanted his brother to enjoy history, but he also understood how important it was for the Eagles, and he was very proud of the Eagles, and he had torn emotions, which is one of the reasons he took so long. Somebody then said it would have been nice that you didn't, if New Heights hadn't deleted the tweet, and I never saw the original tweet, and Jason Kelce responded to the guy and said, here's why he said, I asked them to delete the tweet. He goes, it was because it apparently was a graphic, but all the pictures were Jason Kelce in an Eagles uniform. And he's like, I thought it was I didn't like how it looked that they just won the Super Bowl and I didn't have any blank to do with it. And yet all these pictures were of me. I didn't feel comfortable about it. And I had to take that down.
Because what I had seen about that earlier before seeing the original tweet was a lot of Taylor Swift fans. The Swifties were not happy that they were promoting the win of the Eagles when Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, had just lost. So I only saw the tweet essentially congratulating Travis Kelce and the Chiefs on a great season, and saw people upset that.
Okay. That's what he said. So I didn't see the rest of it. But I get where he's coming from. I appreciated the honesty that he had of saying that his emotions were torn between this team that he loves so much and all those guys he played with, and also wanting to see his brother succeed. I get that.
Or maybe it had something to do with his future sister-in-law getting booed in the stadium.
That was kind of crazy.
That was number 5 on Read and React.
Somebody made the point the Eagles fans boo everybody.
That's
so
fair.
What would be different there? There was
Maybe it's a sign of respect. She should be happy about it.
There was a certain other person that got booed there by Eagles fans and would be on the opposite side of the spectrum as Taylor Swift.
I see. And that person took a shot at Taylor Swift on social media a little bit later.
Yeah.
So it does come full circle. But yeah, it didn't look like she knew how to react. Like she's never been booed before, because any other big audiences she's in front have paid thousands of dollars to see her and adore her. So it didn't look like she'd been there and done that before.
That's a good point.
Right? She just sort of had that look of shock and surprise. By the way, what I love about the fact the Eagles fans who celebrated, okay, And it says here there were no major problems or injuries, according to Philadelphia media.
What?
When you dig down a little deeper, police made 10 arrests overall, including 6 people who were charged with assaulting officers.
I can tell you right now.
But the headline was no major problems, nothing, no biggie, because see, that's just any Sunday night on Broad Street.
I got a video from a certain Philly guy that we all know and love who we used to work with, and if there was only 10 arrests out of that video that he sent, which was like a compilation of complete chaos, including people riding down the street on horses, which I would assume were police horses.
Hello.
And they were taken.
2 of my favorite videos. One, I saw, it was saying like, the caption on TikTok was like, women in male-dominated fields. And it was like 3 or 4 women up on this light pole. And as opposed to typically you see men. But one of the women was in a costume that was the Inner Excellence book. It was like a boxy costume, and that's what she was wearing.
That's great.
And then I saw a video compilation of the mayor imploring people, please do not climb the poles. Do not climb them. And then it was, they weren't climbing them, but I saw one of the traffic poles and they had taken it down and everybody was walking with it through the street. So technically they were following the suggestion.
Yeah, sort of like the goalposts at Sun Devil Stadium once upon a time. Just, carry it down Broad Street. Okay, I get it. Let's see, what else did I have down here? Okay, there's a Kendrick Lamar. I'm going to save that for getting cultured a little bit later. Rookie cornerbacks. I went back and looked at it. You realize Cooper DeJean was taken 40th overall, and then Kool-Aid McKinstry 41st, Kamari Lassiter 42nd, Max Melton 43rd. And then Mike Sanderstrill, I just butchered that, from Washington. He had a real nice postseason and playoff run for the Commanders. He was taken 50th. So if I'm Max Melton, I'm using that as off-season motivation. There are a lot of guys taken around him who really balled out this year. And I thought Max Melton had a really good December and January for the Cardinals. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come for the Cardinals' second-round pick.
I think Max Melton's going to look better when he has more pressure up front coming, which I think it's easier for Cooper DeJean to look that way.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, wasn't Max Melton saying everybody's opinions are like Gucci belts? Everybody has one?
Everybody has one, that's right. And we all looked at each other. And even Miss Getting Cultured herself, I don't think owns a Gucci belt. Is that correct?
I don't, but that's... You're going to make me stand on a podcast. I'm personally not a fan because everyone has them. Like, it's just kind of like, I don't want one. It's also
everybody.
It's also something that, like, you can get a knockoff. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. Personally, I've never been a fan of the Gucci belts.
I do not have a Gucci belt. Just for the record.
Me either. So, you know what, Darren? I was about to cover my face over here with, okay. It's
No,
comfort.
I'm
See,
not.
now I'm thinking
Now
Dani's upset to be lumped in with us.
No. Now that's not so much the fashion anymore. People don't really wear them. I was personally not really a fan of them.
Here's something else I didn't realize. The running back position, which has seen its value plummet, with a franchise tag figure surpasses only that of kickers and punters. I did not know that. As a position group, the franchise tag value for running backs is currently only ahead of kickers and punters.
Well,
have they really fallen that low?
Who's getting paid besides Saquon Barkley? I don't even know if Derrick Henry is.
That's straight out of an ESPN.com article.
I know,
don't know.
But you know how they get
Let's
the franchise
see.
tag,
Yeah,
right?
Right. Okay.
It's like an average of salaries.
Big money running backs for 500. Who is getting big money?
I think Derrick Henry.
Christian McCaffrey, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, you got to dig deep. You got to think hard, don't you? I mean, even like Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones changed teams because their teams didn't want to pay them big money. I'm trying to think. Did David Montgomery get big money? No. Who are other? I mean, think about even Joe Mixon changed because they didn't want to pay him big money. He went to Houston. So that's a really good question.
So here's looking up McCaffrey right now on the current contracts they have. McCaffrey 19 average per year, 19 million McCaffrey, 14 million Jonathan Taylor, 12.5 Saquon.
Where's James Conner in that?
He's sixth. 12.5 Saquon, 12.2 Kamara, 12 Jacobs, 9.9 Mixon, 9.5 James Conner. Derrick Henry only is averaging $8 million on his contract. So yeah, it's.
I mean, there are some kickers making $6 million per year. So I found that astounding. I did not quite realize
and here's
that.
the problem when you talk about running back, and that's Connor getting the new contract. The problem is McCaffrey's getting 19. He got hurt. Jonathan Taylor got hurt. I mean, Alvin Kamara was hurt. Like, these are the issues that you have with these running backs. One of the reasons they don't want to pay them is because it's too easy for them to get hurt.
That's why they had the Zoom call 2 years ago.
That's right. And James Conner was part of that.
He was not.
No, he was not part of it.
Oh, I thought he was.
He was not
no,
part
because
of it.
when we brought it up to him, he said he wasn't part of it, and
it wasn't every running back. It was just a small
and he
group.
didn't say it directly, but I remember him, and I'm paraphrasing now, but I remember James Conner kind of intimating like, look, the running backs get paid what they're going to get paid. I just want a good opportunity and a good salary. Like, he did not sound like the kind of guy who is like, why aren't running backs getting paid more?
Okay. All right. By the way, I'll mention this right here because I don't want to derail things later. But
Too late.
I do have a new entry. It's receiving consideration right now for the power poll of incompetence and ineptitude. When I saw a headline earlier today, New Orleans Saints are reported $71 million over the cap. You know, that'd be one thing.
For who?
That would be one thing if it was 1 year. The Saints have been like 50 to 70 million over the cap ever since Sean Payton left.
Who are they paying?
Well, again, most of this is dead money that they've kicked down the
that's
road.
true.
Yeah.
And this is why everybody always says, oh, the cap is false. It doesn't matter. Eventually, it comes back to bite you. One of the great things that Monty Ossenford has done with this team is that with the moves he's made over the couple years, he's created very little dead cap space as we head into this offseason. It's one of the reasons they have so much room.
So the word being used is doom spiral with the Saints, which is an economic term. A lot of cities have faced doom spirals when it comes to their finances. I think it was the city of Detroit faced that about 20 years ago and actually got out of it. So
Maybe not the best situation for
Yeah.
Kellen Moore to come in as the new head coach.
Right now, it looks like the Cardinals are going to have a little over $7 million in dead cap space.
okay.
Now, there are teams that are lower, considerably lower, but there's a lot of teams that have quite a bit more.
Okay. All right. So there we go. Now we get to the Super Bowl. Takeaways, impressions. We know it's a copycat league. Anything the Arizona Cardinals should or could take away from Super Bowl 59.
Got to win at the line of scrimmage.
It's true. Win the line of scrimmage, win the game.
Chiefs' offensive line could not hold up against the Eagles' front. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes looked flustered. He was not making good decisions. It wasn't the typical Mahomes magic that we get to see week after week, especially in those playoffs when the lights are so bright. And the fact that the Eagles were able to dominate as much as they were without blitzing and just with a 4-man rush against 5 offensive linemen and to still get in Mahomes' face and still make life difficult for him was very impressive. And that is going to make the rest of the defense, their lives easier. And I think you saw that with the pressures, with the PBUs, with the interceptions. Cooper DeJean's pick 6 on his 22nd birthday, his first career interception, and it's off one of the greatest to ever do it in a Super Bowl. You can't write it better than that. That is pretty spectacular. It all comes down to the line of scrimmage, though.
Yeah, when the Eagles' pressure rate exceeds Patrick Mahomes' completion percentage, you know you're doing something right as a defense. There's no doubt about it.
They went into halftime, and the Eagles had run 39 offensive plays, and the Chiefs had 23 yards.
And you had 24 points on the board. So you had more points
Yeah.
scored than yards allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and look,
That's usually a recipe for winning.
and we talked about it in the context of the Eagles were a referendum for every other team that doesn't have Patrick Mahomes. And back when Tom Brady was in his prime, how did the Giants beat him in a Super Bowl? Well, you beat him up. That's exactly what the Eagles did with Patrick Mahomes. You just beat him up. And so if you're a Cardinals team that is building from the inside out, you build the line of scrimmage. Obviously, the Eagles are dominant on both sides of the ball in the trenches. And then you feature that run game. And this was the other aspect of the referendum and why we sort of latched on to the Eagles, right? We've been talking about this on Cardinals Underground for a month. And, it's been the year of the running back. We just talked about the salaries, but 5 different running backs had 1,400 or more rushing yards when last year, 2023, it was only Christian McCaffrey. So now you have Saquon Barkley leading the way, 2,000 yards plus, and then you build a defense that's 6 sacks and 11 quarterback hits and 16 quarterback pressures, and boom, the whole cram it vertical and play defense, and all of a sudden, guess what? You don't need the best quarterback in the game to have the best team in the game.
The Eagles are a great example of that. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback. I think we can all agree he is not, because nobody really is on Patrick Mahomes' level. Now, there are some that are close and compete, and you can put him in that category. The Eagles' offense, though, still found a way to get it done. I mean, if you would have known going into that game that Saquon Barkley would have 57 rushing yards compared to what he has done, not only this season, but in the playoffs leading up to that, you would think it would be a lot more difficult than how it looked for the Eagles offensively to go up against that Chiefs defense. And Philly was able to adjust and still find a way to get it done. And their offensive line gave Hurts plenty of time, more than enough time, to let plays develop or use his legs if he needed to. And he looked calm and cool under pressure.
Yeah, and to have, and just his decision-making, I guess I'm with you. I've never been the biggest Jalen Hurts fan. I've never put him in the top echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL, but his decision-making was sound. The one interception he threw, he was hurried. There was pressure up the middle. Guess what? That's more evidence. It happens to any quarterback when you get that pressure up the middle. It happened to Mahomes twice, and you throw it away. But otherwise, just the ability of when to throw, when to run, when to extend the play, when to live for another play. He did a really good job, obviously, Jalen Hurts. And yet another example, you win the turnover battle, you win the game, and I think that held in every single postseason game.
I feel like the Chiefs won one of their games when it was 1-0. Okay. I think the Bills didn't turn it over, although they had that stop on 4th down. I will say that I do think Hurts made some good decisions, but the number of times, especially early when the game was still in doubt, the number of times he went back to pass and there was no pressure on him. The pass protection was pristine for a Chiefs team that had done a pretty good job of rushing the passer this year. I thought that was different. And again, that comes back to what are you doing up front, either defensively or offensively, whether you're the Cardinals or whoever.
Yeah, Kyle Vandenbosch said on Red Sea Report this week, just watching the Chiefs defensive line, not only were they deflated, they were almost defeated by the third quarter. It's like a lot of those guys, this is KVB now, it just looked like they gave up. Like, well, not only are you getting killed, but
yes.
They were having no success getting to the quarterback.
They're having no success, but I'm sorry. Like, if you're people are human, and if you're losing 24-0, 31-0, 34-0, and when you're going to the sidelines and you're watching your offense do absolutely nothing, how are you not going to feel defeated?
Yeah. All right, so the Eagles O-line and the Eagles D-line, definitely winning behavior in Super Bowl 59. For more winning behavior, let's get to it.
I see you, let's go!
Can you display winning behavior? You have to consistently display winning behavior.
That's winning behavior.
You got to define what winning behavior is and hold people to that standard.
Yes.
Jameis Winston with a football in his hand, not always winning behavior. 30 interception seasons notwithstanding, but put a microphone in Jameis Winston's hands and look out, right?
He's money. You want to talk about a personality hire?
I was going to say, whose winning behavior was that with him doing stuff at the Super Bowl? Is it Jameis Winston or is it Fox for hiring him?
Yeah, more than one person observed on social media. Whoever the suit was that hired Jameis Winston, give yourself a raise.
He was great at media when he was going around to the players, media availability, and he was asking which team he should sign with, and he gave A.J. Brown the cha-cha slide touchdown celebration idea, and then he was roaming around Bourbon Street, and he was dancing along with the music. He was essentially live commentating the game from the stands. Look, he is a funny guy, and it was enjoyable to watch his content all weekend.
Take Dani's word for it and listen for yourself.
Hey, Jameis, I heard you've been eating a lot of me. Yes, I have, W. Beignet, but I heard that it's only one of you. Well, Jameis, please take your time and eat me so you can savor every moment. I see y'all, and I know y'all see me. And we got cameras that can see y'all seeing me, so come and let me on the boat. This purple drink is dank. Yes, it is nothing better than this. Oh, my God. Can I help you with your celebration? Yeah. All right. I know at family reunions we talk about a cha-cha slide. I want you to slide to the left, slide to the right, crisscross, and eat a W and walk off that thing.
Not everyone can show A.J. Brown how to celebrate, okay? And not just any media member can stand up in media night and actually give free advice like that.
You know Winston's having a good time when you can hear him start to lose his voice. That's when you know.
The best one, and really the audio doesn't do it justice, go find the clip of him with the New Orleans Jazz Band playing the cowbell. That's outstanding, where he jumps into the middle.
Needs more cowbell.
Yes, exactly. All right, Nick Foles. Who wants to explain this one? Darren, Nick Foles, and there was a tweet at Tom Brady's expense.
Nick Foles tweeted out after the Eagles win, "It's really cool that Tom Brady got to be there for the Eagles' 2 Super Bowl wins. He might be a good luck charm." I think that's fantastic trolling by Nick Foles, who obviously beat Tom Brady the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and then Tom Brady and his contours, as Dani called them, was televising the game this weekend. So I think that's A-level, not over the top trolling, but pretty quality.
Now, was it premeditated and or sponsored? Because they're both in a commercial together for a certain company. So I do wonder if it was somewhat of a two-man game, perhaps, between the two quarterbacks. Maybe. I'm not sure, but
I didn't think so, but who knows?
By the way, not winning behavior.
Are we saying that was winning behavior by Nick Foles?
Oh,
I
sure,
think it is,
absolutely, absolutely. Not winning behavior. The New Orleans airport.
Oh, not good.
In fact, Good Morning Football might be the best in the business at keeping things positive, right, and high energy and good vibes. And every member of that show ripped the New Orleans airport for just the, quote, chaos and, quote, disaster that was Monday morning. Darren, how many times have you flown out of a Super Bowl city on a Monday morning? Because I've never done that, and that's got to have high potential to be a nightmare.
It's been a handful. I will say the best flight out the day after a Super Bowl I ever had was when I was forced to fly out at like 5 o'clock Monday afternoon. So it wasn't the morning, so that was actually that was nice. I will say one of the things that apparently was an issue, and it's an issue every year, and usually they try and give everybody a heads up at the game, is if you have a Super Bowl program, the way they have this program, there's like a cool hologram in the cover, and there has been one for a number of years now. But if you put it in your bag and try and take it on the plane, it sets off the security alarms. So anybody who's got a Super Bowl program and is trying to put it on their carry-on and takes it through, that's going to stop the line every time.
See, and I saw a tweet this year, they reversed that policy. Don't put it in your check bag, put it in your carry-on so you can take it out like a laptop. And that's one of the reasons.
But if you don't remember to do it.
Exactly.
So not winning behavior for you two?
No, I mean, no. But see, we could go all day about, like, there's so much non-winning behavior at the airport in terms of people that I'm like, have you ever traveled before? Do you not understand, like, the shoes have to come off here? Or that, hey, we got to move along. Or, like, be ready. You're at the front of the freaking line.
Okay, you know what, though? In these people's defense, how many times are you standing in line at a different airport and TSA is yelling things at you that other airports don't? Like, you're in line and sometimes they tell you to take your laptop out and take your shoes off, and then other airports are telling you no, or if you have pre-check, you don't have to do those things.
But then pay the hell attention.
I agree. There is too much incompetence happening at airports.
I'm not going to disagree that it feels weird that all the airports don't have all the same rules, but when you get in line, you should be listening to the rules.
You need to be alert and ready.
Like at Sky Harbor, I always have to take off my Gucci belt. But other airports, I don't have to take off my... Dani, were you one of the Mavs fans that was let out of the game in handcuffs? Was that... that was not good.
This is not winning behavior. So a lot of Mavs Lakers talk here on this Arizona Cardinals podcast.
This will be the last podcast that we do it, probably.
Okay. So it was... So there's a lot of feeling. So at the Mavs game at the American Airlines Center at home, they were doing karaoke with fans during a break. And so there was this fan, and he started mouthing along to the song so he could get on the Jumbotron. And then as soon as he was on, started mouthing, "Fire Nico." Nico Harrison, the Mavs general manager.
Yes.
And he and his friend, they
no.
were not the only two that were escorted out of the building
Right.
for saying that, which is
Look, pal.
so wild to me.
You're out.
Look, I'm not a fan of when your players are shooting free throws. If you're chanting that as the home team, I'm not going to, say that I agree with that. But to kick fans out for saying that is ridiculous. And on top of it, Anthony Davis gets hurt and is already out for multiple weeks, which, I mean, wow, shocker. Who did not see that coming? And then you have Dirk Nowitzki goes to LA, and he is a very under the radar person. Like, if you're seeing something about him or he is out and about, it's intentional. And he was out there and he made it known he was going to LA to watch Luka's debut with the Lakers. And I think that's pretty telling on how Dirk felt about it as well.
I'm going to say it's not winning behavior, but it's by the Mavericks and not the fans.
Yes.
What's absolutely not winning behavior is the idiot fans who are sending death threats or racial epithets to Nico Harrison. However,
He can't even sit in his normal seat.
for me, if you are not going to throw out every single fan in the arena every game for booing players and or telling you to trade them, you can't be doing it when they're doing it to the GM. That's a bunch of that. Grow a thick skin. You knew that this was going to happen. Suck it up.
Consequences of your own actions.
Yes.
Not winning behavior.
But when the biggest legend in team history, Dirk Nowitzki, is following the guy you just traded away to LA and watching him in person instead of your team, that's
not a good look.
That's how it always gets worse. All right. Speaking of scorebug, the Super Bowl scorebug, that's my segue. Should it be non-winning behavior? Should it be on the power pole of incompetence and ineptitude? It wasn't that bad.
It was not that bad. Although when I first turned the game on, I went to go see if I was on the right channel or if I was on a secondary channel because the scorebug threw me off. And I was like, wait a second, is this Fox? This is the right channel? It threw me off for sure.
Way too big.
It was too big. Now, look, I'm not a fan of the score bugs. A lot of like college where they're so big that it's blocking a quarter of the screen and then you can't even see the field in the game. I'm not a fan of that. So there's got to be middle ground, but it was not aesthetically pleasing. I like that you could see more of the game going on, I guess, in between the spacing of it. But
one of the things that concerns me is oftentimes the network that has the Super Bowl, they debut their new score bug at the Super Bowl, and then that's what they're going to use going forward. So I'll be curious to see what Fox's score bug next year is that.
Wow. Yeah. The whole running up the flagpole, Super Bowls, where you're getting 200 million viewers, right? Probably not the greatest time to use it as a testing and proving ground. I don't know. It doesn't seem to make a whole bunch of sense to me, but okay. By the way, my holy cannoli stat that I blew Craig Grialou away with, you ready for this one here? 3 coaches have a career 700 winning percentage and a Super Bowl title. Vince Lombardi, John Madden, and now Nick Sirianni, who actually has something in common with the Mavericks now because Nick Sirianni was yelling at Eagles fans just like Mark Cuban was yelling at some of those Mavs fans the other night who were yelling out, "Fire Nico." So how about that? How about the fact Philly fans, by the way, were chanting "Fire Nick" in October during a win against Cleveland, and now they're Super Bowl champions.
Again, first of all, and we had this discussion, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Philadelphia is a whole different world, baby.
All right, quick comment before we move off the Super Bowl commercials. What would be your top 1 or 2 commercials?
I'm going to save mine for a little bit later.
Which one?
I'm going to save mine for a little later.
Okay.
I'll
be honest. I don't know if I have one. I will be also honest. I stopped watching about halfway through the third quarter. I didn't need to see the Eagles dominate. That I didn't have any interest in that.
I did have to hit pause several times, so we were behind real time. So I ended up fast forwarding through game action in the third and fourth quarter just to watch the commercials, and then boom, I'd fast forward through the game action to try and catch up, watch the commercials. Pickleball was good, I thought. The William Dafoe, Catherine O'Hara, that was pretty good.
That was I did like that one.
The knock you out with a kid, LL Cool J, going to knock you out, cancer. I thought that was well done. I thought the NFL flag football one was pretty well done.
yeah.
Pat McAfee with a cameo.
You can see that on azcardinals.com. That's posted on azcardinals.com.
All right, that was good. And then actually, maybe because I'm an auto racing guy, the Joseph Newgarden, right, topping Tom Brady is like, Mr. Perfect. I thought that was pretty solid. That was good. Speaking of Dani, I guess that will be the segue here. Darren, you might want to buckle up. Dani, we'll segue to you.
Getting cultured with Dani. It is not just directed at Paul.
Am I the default uncultured Philistine around here?
Yes.
You got me very excited now.
I am on social media and consume more pop culture than both of you combined.
I think I'm being unfairly profiled, but go ahead.
Let's go. Wow, bravo for that open for Getting Cultured with Dani, our new segment. All it took was debuting it 1 week, and now we've got a beautiful open.
Just for that, I'm
almost next level.
I'm gonna try and channel up some Jameis Winston on camera charisma here just during this segment. Just try and match the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Do what you got to do.
Raise my game.
Getting cultured. It's just going to be Super Bowl based this week, so not as heavy as last week of filling you guys in. Most likely, we are going to start with some of my favorite Super Bowl commercials. The first one is Nike. It was their first Super Bowl commercial in 27 years. Almost 3 decades. And it was, that's what I saw online.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yes, I know. I didn't believe it either. Women in sports. And it was turning the narrative of essentially being told no into your motivation and doing it anyway and doing it at a high level. And they had some of the best athletes in the world. They had Sha'Carri Richardson, track and field. They had Sophia Smith, wife of Cardinals wide receiver Michael Wilson, Caitlin Clark. They had a whole group of women, and then it was one of those activations where when you go online the next day and they all have like personalized things for their social media, and it just kind of went through the commercial. But I thought that one was really special to celebrate the growth of women's sports. I
did see that. That was really well done. I had no idea that was their first Super Bowl commercial since what, Tiger Woods? I mean, honestly.
Now, I don't know if that's including maybe like specific players, but maybe just a general. But that's what I saw online. I know, pretty crazy.
By the way, Nike stock hit a 5-year low on Friday. Just saying. Go ahead, Dani.
NFL girls flag football was one of my favorites, and you had the high school girl going up against the quote-unquote Chad of the boys football team,
great.
And Marshawn Lynch was watching from the bleachers.
Yep, that was good.
That was a really nicely
good.
done commercial. Google Pixel. The dad was getting ready to go back to work, and he was talking about all the qualities he had to be a good employee and how he had all those qualities from being a dad and what he had learned from his kids. And his kids had grown up and moved away and gone off to school, and so he was going back to work, and I thought that was a really nicely done commercial. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, chocolate lava cups.
I did kind of like that.
So they have these chocolate lava cups, and it looks like essentially just like drizzled chocolate, like an extra layer of chocolate. And the commercial was all of these crazed fans at an actual volcano, and they were trying to go and drink the liquid, drink the lava from the volcano. And so they had these employees stopping the crazed fans, like, don't eat the lava, but eat their lava Reese's.
That was pretty good.
Yes.
Actually.
Mountain Dew is interesting. Seal as a seal.
Yeah, it was interesting. I didn't turn away, but then
disconcerting is the word
I
you're
wished
looking
I'd
for.
had.
And you know what? It gave me major AI vibes. Maybe at least the conception of it. I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of that one, but it did catch my eye. Doritos with the UFO and the aliens. And the reason this one made my list was because they brought back the fan competition. So it was a fan submission, and then the fans directed it. And I actually saw on my TikTok 2 different angles. It was a group of guys who did this commercial, and they got all their friends together to watch. And they have people's phones. They have a legitimate camera out there. And every time it goes to a commercial, everyone holds their breath. And it was not Doritos. They went, oh, and they sighed and were let down. And then when it was their commercial that came up, everybody just went nuts for them watching it, which was really great to see. And the last commercial that made my list, Lilo and Stitch 3, movie coming out in May. I thought that was really clever. They had him running around the field of the Super Bowl, and they can't catch him, and he's on the cart. He runs into the goalpost. That was smart.
I had a dad moment on that one. I shouted out, like, I knew my current times, and I yelled out, "Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog!"
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
No.
Well, there it was an epic
I've
fail.
never seen Lilo and Stitch.
Kids yelled out,
or
"No!"
Sonic the Hedgehog, for that matter.
It's Stitch.
Okay, I'm going to do my best with this
I felt
halftime
shame.
performance.
Okay.
Kendrick Lamar and SZA. I understand. First, let me ask, and I'm not going to be offended either way. Did you guys like the halftime performance?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Not really a fan.
You know,
That's
it was
okay.
all right. Yeah,
here's my
okay.
thing. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but it very, very rarely is. And Kendrick Lamar is not so much a quote-unquote performer. He is a storyteller. He has won a Pulitzer Prize for the lyrics of one of his albums. So everything he does is very intentional and has lots of hidden meanings behind it. And that's what the performance was. And it was quote-unquote the game, right? America's game. And it was the setup of a game controller. And it was riddled with symbolism and imagery and cultural significance, and especially the experience of being Black in America. And I think there are a lot of valuable and reliable sources online that really dig deep into a lot of these Easter eggs and the meaning behind the song choice and the lyrics and cameos and the choreography and the lighting and angles and all of that, which you can go and find online. But I was a fan. I am a fan of Kendrick Lamar and his music and that kind of performance, and being able to see, okay, yes, it's not the nostalgia of the pyro and the lights and all that people typically love, but the NFL was going with a more relevant artist at the time, and that's what Kendrick Lamar is. And so it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I was a fan of that, and I hope that people, even if you're not a fan of the music, you can appreciate, the artistry of all-encompassing of that performance. And you just got cultured, so you're welcome.
By the way, I did learn something on Kendrick Lamar at halftime, that his album is named GNX. Do you know why? It was on stage.
The car, right?
The car.
That's in the album cover.
87 Buick Grand National.
There you go.
And right away, that's the first thing
Paul connects.
Right there, I'm like, cool car. Well, and all of a sudden, his cred in my eyes just tripled. I'm like, look at the car. Well, it turns out his dad picked him up when he was born in 1987 in a Buick Regal. I'm guessing it wasn't a GNX because they only made 500 of those. And if you have one now and it's in good condition, it's probably worth $300,000, and the whole 6-cylinder turbo, the whole deal. But at this point, I'm like, okay, all right, that's pretty cool. So not many cars I'd own from the 80s, but that's definitely one of them. So there you go. And by the way, in terms of album lyrics, I was arguing with my brother a couple months ago. The best album lyrically, top to bottom, of all time, U2 Joshua Tree. And then he took exception. He threw out Pink Floyd and Bob Dylan and early Bruce Springsteen. And so we Googled it up, and Kendrick Lamar was all over a lot of the rankings for best album lyrics of all time. Like they've done that in Rolling Stone and all that sort of stuff. So, okay, it's good. Getting culture and learning at the same time. So
I will say that I know a little bit about Kendrick Lamar's music. I don't know a lot. I very much appreciated I noticed some of the symbolism in real time. I went on social later to do more of a deep dive and understand the layers. It's really A, unbelievable, and B, I'm not going to lie, I'm glad the NFL was willing to let something like that happen.
Very impressive. And I know we talked about the beef with Kendrick and Drake last week. If you were curious, Drake did kick off the Australia leg of his tour on Super Bowl Sunday.
Okay.
We'll see if he sues anybody after that performance.
Right. We'll see if we get sued if I look over the block wall into our neighbors' backyards in the NFC West. You guys want a quick roundup here of what we've seen already this week? So Jed York, 49ers, the last place 49ers owner Jed York on QB Brock Purdy, who's eligible for the extension, as we know. We want Brock to be here for a long time. We'll do everything we can to make that work. And he said he recently met with Purdy's agent, calls Brock a tremendous human being, looking forward to a long-term partnership. As a reminder, Brock Purdy is the final pick of the draft 3 years ago, has made less than $1 million in his NFL salary each of his first 3 years in the league. And now he might be bumped up to around $50 million per by the end of this offseason.
One of the things I think is most interesting with the 49ers is I do think Brock Purdy is going to get his money. And I do think offensively, even if Deebo Samuel is moving on, that they're going to be okay. Their issue is going to be defensively. They've got a ton of free agents, and they've got some cap issues even before the Purdy stuff. Yep. And you don't know what's going to happen with the rest of them. George Kittle had a fantastic year, but he's getting older. Christian McCaffrey's been banged up. You don't know what's going to happen there. Trent Williams didn't play at the end of the season. it's not like he's a spring chicken.
High 30s, yeah, no doubt. And you're right. I'm looking at
I mean,
right
I
here.
wouldn't mind being the spring chicken Trent Williams is, don't get me wrong, but
The best safety they have, Talanoa Hufanga, right? He's a free agent. Javon Hargrave, Charvarius Ward, their best corner. Dre Greenlaw, we know what he's meant to that defense over the years. So, and they have a starting guard who's slated to hit the market as well. So there's that. All right, speaking of quarterbacks in the division, Seahawks, right after the end of Super Bowl 59, posted a picture on social media with the caption, "The 2025 season starts now." And the player coming out of the tunnel, Geno Smith. So that combined with what Mike McDonald said on Radio Row during the Super Bowl when he said, heck yeah, Geno's our quarterback. I don't even understand the conversation. It's pretty obvious this guy's a heck of a quarterback. We love him. Well, part of the reason it's a conversation is because after the season, you were evasive when asked that question. So, but he went on to say this past week, we can win a championship with Geno Smith. And low-key, one objective for the Arizona Cardinals this offseason, figure out how to beat Geno Smith. He is 6-0 against the Cardinals as the Seahawks starting quarterback. So that is something that's on the to-do list. They've hired a new OC in Clint Kubiak, but we'll see what happens. He's only getting paid $25 million this year, but his cap hit skyrockets to like $45 million this coming year. So they might redo his deal, extend it. Who knows? And then the Rams, did you see some of what was trending on Twitter to start this week where the Giants supposedly are eyeing Matthew Stafford in a trade because they hired as the assistant quarterbacks coach his brother-in-law, Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law, who was an assistant with the Bills, is now the assistant QB's coach.
Okay, here's
the Giants.
Here's my question: did the rumor of the Stafford trade happen before or after they hired the guy? Like, is this just some idiot who saw the hire and said, "Oh, they must be trying to do this," which is stupid?
It was trending at one point. So, interesting.
I will be curious to see where Cooper Kupp lands.
That's the other part of the conspiracy theory, is that because he's besties with Cooper Kupp, the fact they're going to let Cooper Kupp go portends Matthew Stafford is no longer going to be the Rams quarterback.
If we're going to wheel back to the beginning of this show, one thing I would like to see change this offseason is that stupid-ass speculation.
All right. Took a little while, but we got Darren triggered finally. Took most of Cardinals Underground, but it finally happened. So there you go. That's your NFC West roundup.
As long as we're talking about me being triggered.
Go ahead.
I'm feeling some type of way over, I go to eat lunch, you go and you make yourself a salad, and I cannot stand it when you go, you fork some lettuce or spinach leaves or whatever, and you go to pick it up, and it just flicks some of that dressing onto your clothes. It drives me up the wall every time.
That's what you're going to stand 10 toes on as the dressing?
Darren has this wacky smile on his face.
No.
And the fact I was standing next to him yesterday in the salad line makes me wonder, was I the guy who flicked dressing on you?
No. You didn't. This was myself. You're eating. Okay. This has never happened to you?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Does it not bug you as much when any other food you're eating spills on your clothes?
No, it's the same thing.
It's only...
It just happened to be salad dressing
Isn't
today,
that
but
user
I can't
error?
stand it. Oh, because you've never had that happen to you.
I have.
You know what, Darren? I'm gonna dig deep when I get home. I'm gonna see if I can find a Nona Calvisi spaghetti bib. Okay, when I was growing up, we'd have spaghetti on Sundays, and
you had to wear a bib?
My grandmother had these special spaghetti bibs you would put on just for the splatter factor.
Nostalgic.
You could just
like that.
not use salad dressing like Craig Relu and eat your salad completely dry like a maniac.
The number of times he's gotten a salad in air quotes, and it's like spinach leaves and like a little bit of cheese. I'm like, that's it. What is that?
Is he a rabbit? I mean, what's going on?
Although, Paul, I also, if we're just going to air grievances here, I'm going to call you out.
Oh, no.
You eat your salad last, which I guess in your mind makes sense because you want to eat your hot food first, but I'm not eating salad as my dessert.
No, me neither.
So my wife converted me on that. I used to be a salad first guy, but she comes from an Italian family that considers it a violation of dinner ethics to eat the salad first. Thou shalt eat the salad last. And so 20 years ago, yours truly got converted, whether I liked it or not. So there you go. Thank you.
I guess we know how Omo feels
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, my protest was not overturned. I filed a protest with the league office.
I at least needed to get that off my chest. I'm not going to be here next week, so I'm not going to be able to say anything till we got a while.
Okay. All right. Wait a minute. Is it the combine already, Darren?
No,
you guys
combine
are
is
leaving
2
for the
weeks.
combine?
And when we
Okay.
go to the combine,
Okay.
we will be on.
Oh.
You're just taking vacation?
Yes, I will.
What are we
I
going to
will
do
not
without
be here.
you?
Craig Grelu and his non-salad dressing salad.
Yeah. You know, we like to say you can't spell Grilu without the AI. Maybe Grilu's more of a machine than we
Wait,
really know.
We like to say that.
Yeah.
I was not aware we like to say that.
So he did tell me, by the way, you guys have a spot on Radio Row, so that's good.
Yes.
This is my last bit
We
of.
will be in Indy.
Here's something else I learned during Super Bowl week. Did you realize Radio Row was officially born at the Super Bowl in LA in 1993? That was 1 year after the Super Bowl was in Minnesota, and WFAN, those savages they were back in the day, innovating sports radio before it was even a thing. They started broadcasting on site at the team hotel in Minnesota in 1992, and the rest of the broadcast industry said, you know what? That's a great idea. Boom, the next year it was born Radio Row.
Well, and probably in part because the NFL is like, yeah, we're not going to let a radio station hole up in a team hotel.
Maybe.
When the
know.
Cardinals
Yeah.
went to the hotel in 2008 for their Super Bowl, it was hush hush where their hotel even was.
It's true. By the way, would you guys like to take a guess here, trivia real quick? How many accredited media members were there for Super Bowl 59? Dani versus Darren.
Well,
Let's
that's
see
so
who can
interesting
get
because not
closest.
even every credentialed member goes to the game, but you're talking about just credentials given throughout the week.
This is to cover the Super Bowl and related events
Okay,
leading
right.
up to the
so
Super
even
Bowl.
if you don't go to the game in the press box.
It's a new record, the most ever for a Super Bowl. So the most money bet, the highest TV ratings,
Okay.
and now the most media members
I-
I'm going to
accredited.
go crazy and say like 3,000.
I see. I was going to go 3,800.
Okay.
5,000?
Are those your final answers? Final
no,
answers,
no.
please.
I'm going
5,000.
3,800.
Dani Sureck, you are the winner. It's 6,414.
Even though she changed, but whatever.
No, he asked for final answer and I changed my final answer. You just don't like that I beat you on the first try.
Yeah.
On the first try,
Yeah, the first competition we go head to head. That was fun, Paul.
Since I went 2-15 this year, I'm going to live vicariously through Dani's victory here to end this edition of Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.